All right, let's get back over to Devin Bartolotto trying to get some answers about this historic snow.
And she's pulling in Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin. He's on the hot seat now. Chris, lots of questions for you.
It's a hot seat?
This is a hot seat. And now that we know, Chris, that Meg was not at the first historic snowstorm in 1895.
That was news to me.
We don't have a witness. Can you tell us how historic was this? How big of a deal was this?
And to try and compare the data that was accumulated in 1895 to the data that we have now is very, very difficult. But they do confirm, I say they, the National Weather Service confirmed 2 reports from that 1895 of 8.2 and 10 inches of snow at the Carrollton, at a Carrollton location, as well as at Audubon Park, which for years was the official gauge of climate data for the city. That station has moved a few times, and then in the 40s, 1948, it moved permanently to MSY. So that's where our data comes from. So the 8 inches that was the official accumulation at MSY is, as far as the airport goes, the all-time record. Prior to that, it was 2.6.
Wow.
In 1963, so we shattered that. However, just based on the fairly accurate reports we've received in the metro area from the, Metairie, West Bank, in the city, it ranged about 10 to 12. So we likely surpassed the snow of 1895 for southeast Louisiana. But what's interesting, in that snow, Lake Charles had 20 inches of snow.
Gosh.
So the 8 to 10 that we saw here was actually nothing compared to what Lake Charles saw. And they didn't see 20 inches in this snow.
Well, and you talked about official data. Do we know officially yet who had the most snow? Which area?
It was the South Shore. The metro area had the most snow. We definitely saw more than the North Shore. And you can even kind of confirm that based on the satellite imagery of their snow is melting faster. They didn't get the accumulations that we saw south of the lake. So they're clearing out faster and they're warming up faster than we are. So we still have the snowpack, which we normally talk about in areas from the plains to the Canadian border of how that influences daytime temperatures. It actually influenced our daytime temperatures, where the North Shore got into the 50s. We stayed in the 40s on the South Shore.
Wow. So I guess this was such an anomaly. We should not be expecting this again for at least 120 more years.
Yes, so 130, every 130 we get one of these massive snow events. And it was just, everything came into perfect alignment for this type of snow. We had the sub-freezing, well into the sub-freezing Arctic air, which kind of dominated the atmosphere. So you had those sub-freezing temperatures, and we had this Gulf system that was kind of fueling. This is a kind of a look back at what the city looked like in 1895. And keep in mind, they had none of the equipment that we have now to clear roads and streets. Now we did probably.
And no one was working from home.
I don't think so. I don't believe Zoom was invented yet in 1895. So just to kind of put it all into perspective with the amount of snow that we saw then and now, it shouldn't come as a surprise why we still have some significant snows on a lot of roads. And I know driving into work, where Airline Highway to Tulane is for the most part fairly clear, but you do run into spots where all of a sudden you get into a shaded area and you hit that patch of ice. So folks are going 50, 60 miles an hour, and then you suddenly approach that ice, and then they're trying to swerve out of the way, or hitting it at 60 miles an hour, you're going to spin out. So still, please, if you have to be on the roads, keep it slow. I'm glad, knock on wood, that we haven't had too many more accidents, because there are a lot more folks out on the roads right now.
All right, Chris, thanks for joining me on the hot seat.
I hope I got through it.
That was a tough one.
All right.